All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at 816 Podcasting and presenting another episode from Sacko to Shiva with Chase, Tom, and Anthony, who's back again. Let's see how long he lasts, like his sex life. I mean, it's not very long, so I mean, he'll be all right.
Yay, we got the intro done correctly. Yay.
All right, we just need to get a drop.
That was just a third take. It's not too bad.
We just need to get a drop that actually just like does all that automatic.
Just delete that out and do one of my own when you guys leave.
That's fine.
So we got a new format going on. Trying something new. Just instead of droning about stats, recapping games on every game, we decided to just mix it up, try and do something we'd want to listen to. So let's jump right into it. Let's do midseason awards. 816 Podcasting's midseason awards. We've all done our own. Let's see how they match up. You guys want to jump right into it? MVP?
MVP, mine has not changed since week 8, and that's Tom Brady.
What? I thought this was going to be unanimous.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
His argument's so dumb, too. Like he wants to say, like, okay, which would you... He's on pace for, like, 5,000 plus yards, right?
Tom Brady?
Like, yeah, and he says that's MVP. However, I was like, Drew Brees threw 5,000 yards, 6 years in a row?
Yeah, and hasn't won one. Okay, Tom, what's your argument for Tom Brady?
He's going to... Before, when I did it, the numbers, crunch the numbers and the stats, he's going to finish with 5,000, almost 5,100 yards, and just under 40 touchdowns.
No. How many touchdowns? Because it was
39, I think it was.
I think it was 36. 36 is what he's projected to finich with.
Yeah, right in that area.
That's
36 to 40. That's not too bad. That's a general area.
Okay.
Yeah. So the problem that I have with Wentz is because that's who you guys are going to pick. But
that's because the fact that you know who we're going to pick means like he's the clear-cut favorite. He really is. And he's leading the pack.
My reasoning is with picking Wentz is he's doing so well in what he's like as a leader of that team and keeping plays alive, scrambling, running. But if you look at passing yards, I was like, that doesn't determine a MVP. Carson Wentz is on pace to throw for 46 touchdowns, 10 more than Tom Brady. I was like, that is a huge difference. You can take the extra 500 passing yards on the season. I'll take the extra 10 touchdowns because that's going to win my team more games.
To me, I still want to have Tom Brady in his 312 yards a game, 19 total touchdowns at this point, and 2 interceptions with 140 first downs at a QB rate of 108 over Wentz.
His QB rating is 104.1.
Yeah, so it's very close.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not like it's a landslide.
Tom Brady has 2 interceptions. Carson Wentz has 5. Carson Wentz has more fumbles. But then again, Carson Wentz is the only quarterback who has 7 completions of 40-plus yards this year already. So he's taking more risks. He also has 26 over 20.
Okay.
This guy's throwing down the field.
I'm looking at the stats right now, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 quarterbacks that have 40 or more completions of 40 yards or more.
All right, so
not 40.
But how many of those QBs have already thrown 23 touchdowns?
I mean, I think he's
0.
the only one that's over 20. One.
Yes, that's the correct answer.
He's the only one over 20, right?
Yeah, he's going.
Yes.
There's let's see.
Here's another Smith has like 17 and he's like 3rd.
Yeah.
Or 2nd.
I think Russell Wilson is 19.
Smith.
Russell Wilson has 19.
Yeah.
Brady, Wilson have 19.
But it's
Alex
just
Smith
like what he's doing because no doubt Tom Brady has more weapons on his offense.
Also,
right?
look at the rushing
Anybody
yards
would
too
take
for
that
Carson
receiving
Wentz.
core over Phillies, right? It's what Carson Wentz is doing. He's the best player on the best team in football.
Well, I mean, Gronkowski and Ertz are similar, right?
Right.
You would say that.
I would not put
Brady,
anyone
Cooks.
over Ertz right now.
Alshon and Cooks are similar.
No, I would take the rest of the receiving core. I'd take over Phillies. Philly has a very average receiving core that Carson Wentz makes great.
Well, then you get Amendola because Hogan's been out the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So do you take Torrey Smith or Matt Collins over Amendola?
I would take Amendola over Torrey Smith and Matt Collins, and I'm a Philly fan.
Okay, so there's a touch better wide receiver right there. I still think it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady's my MVP.
But
all right,
here I got a stat for you. Carson Wentz in the red zone has thrown 15 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
I'm not saying
That
he's having
is
a bad
execution.
season. I'm saying he's good.
And the passes he's making aren't these run-of-the-mill passes. Like, I was watching some of all of Jared Goff's touchdown passes yesterday and all of Carson Wentz's touchdown passes. And the thing is most of Jared Goff's touchdown passes came yards after catch. And I'm not saying having a notch against Jared Goff. Jared Goff is looking phenomenal this year. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying most of Carson Wentz's touchdowns are passed to the touchdown. Like, Carson Wentz is doing all the work to pass his wide receivers open. Jared Goff has better weapons, and I'm just saying, like you're looking at the talent that Carson Wentz is like working with compared to everybody else, and you look at how he's threading needles through linebackers, defensive backs, and safeties, all in the same pass. Like, it's against Denver, he put up 51 points. Who does that?
Brady just shredded them too.
No, I understand, but like I'm
gonna right there though. A lot of that was 4 turnovers, 2 by special teams, by Denver, giving New England a short field, giving Tom Brady a short field. Carson Wentz had 2 back-to-back drives all the way down the field against Denver. That's impressive as hell.
Brady is also completing a league-high 67% of his passes.
Actually, that's not the league high. The league high is 71% by Drew Brees.
By Drew Brees, right. He was second. Yep, that's right.
I was like, Drew Brees right now is on pace to break Sam Bradford's record that was set last year.
Right. Brady's averaging 31 attempts per game, and Wentz is at 32.
All right, so we'll have to agree to disagree here.
Well, Wentz is at 200 and...
Well, we can't spend too much time on this, Chase.
Wentz is at 251 yards a game, where Brady's at 312.
Just by rough looking, I don't have the total in there, but I'm looking at close to 250 rushing yards for Carson Wentz this year.
Yeah, I don't have the rushing ones.
I'm just saying, you got to add that to his repertoire as well on how he's keeping plays alive with his feet.
Yeah, and to me, Wentz is third in this race.
Which is ridiculous.
And the other guy, Russell Wilson, is ahead of him.
Tom, you're
trying to lose credibility Wilson, Wentz. That's just what I have, guys.
Oh, man.
I think Wilson is playing out of his mind also and deserves credit for that offense getting to where it is.
So what do you not like about Carson Wentz? Why is he so low for you?
He's not low. He's third. That's not bad.
Low compared to what he's doing. He's leading the league.
I think unanimously for like anybody, he's number 1. So I want to know what you don't see in him.
I'm just saying that I think that Russell Wilson and Tom Brady are having better seasons than what Wentz is doing.
Man,
even though I would put Jared Goff over Russell Wilson.
I probably would too, but I think he's more of a product of a system.
I don't know. I got Tom Brady as number 1, Wilson number 2, and then Carson Wentz number 3.
Man, okay, let's go to the next one because we're not, and no one's going to agree on that. Coach of the year. Can we all agree it's Sean McVay?
Disagree.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and so I looked into this a little bit more from the last time we did it, and McVay has been unbelievable on the offensive side, and I love everything that he's doing. But this other team that sticks out to me lost their quarterback, lost their number 1 running back, and lost their number 1 wide receiver for a stretch of games. Minnesota.
It's hard to argue with Mike Zimmer, too. Like,
okay, yeah. I like Mike Zimmer. I think he does need to be included in the conversation. However, Sean McVay entered a team that last year had the league's lowest offensive scoring system, and he has the largest in NFL history, the largest change in score differential from worst year to the season high of this year.
And it's 18-point differential.
It's an 18-point, and
that's insane.
The last time
it is huge.
The last time there was this big of a change was in 1999 with the Rams in St. Louis, and it was a 14-point differential. The fact that's a 4-point increase over the last time is ridiculous. Like, that big of a jump is unheard of. Like, you can't do that. Like,
I agree.
And I think it's hard to argue against Sean McVay because he knew what he was coming into.
It's also hard to argue against Mike Zimmer, though. Like, this one's closer than the MVP for me. Like, it is.
No, I understand. I think Mike Zimmer deserves credit, and I think he deserves to be the runner-up in this situation. However, I do not think he deserves to win it. Like, it's like you can't disagree with what he's done, but he's been with this team for years, and he knows his talent and he knows the strengths of this team now. Where Sean McVay had to build strengths for this team. He had to play to his team's strengths and figure out what they were good at and what they weren't, and make a whole new playbook coming into this year.
And one of the reasons why I'm taking Zimmer is if you take away the Rams' starting quarterback, Goff, you take away Gurley, and then you take away, who do you want to be the number
Sammy
one? Robert
Watkins
Woods,
is
Sammy
probably the number
Watkins.
one, yeah.
It'd be Robert Woods. All right, so
What do you think their record would be at this point?
okay, you take away Adam Thielen, you take away Stefan Diggs, you take away Case Keenum, you take away Bridgewater. You do that on any team, no matter what the team
He's
No,
is.
saying
but what I'm
because
saying-
Keenum is their third string quarterback.
Yeah.
Or fourth if you count Teddy.
He's getting
Right.
this team wins with guys that he
No,
had to
fair, yeah.
replace.
But look at that team. Like, that team, regardless. You
Jared
put-
Goff is the number one quarterback. Todd Gurley's the number one running back.
Right.
That's
Take
what
those
Tom's
off of
saying.
St. Louis with exactly what Zimmer had to deal with, and what would be their record? Would they be 7-2 at this point?
Absolutely not.
Right. So that's why I think Zimmer is the coach of the
Okay,
year.
you take Diggs or Thielen off of that offense. That offense doesn't produce the way it does. You take Thielen off, and it's done.
Diggs just came back from an injury
Diggs
and he was
has been
out for 3
most
weeks.
of the year. He's
Okay,
played probably
but
half
look
the
at
games.
Thielen. Thielen's a guy that you don't have to pass it to him in space. He makes his space.
Yeah, Thielen. Would you compare Thielen
You
and
take
Woods or Thielen and Watkins?
We're not going to agree on
I
any
think
of these.
Thielen's more comparable, like in how he impacts that team, to Todd Gurley on how he impacts the Rams team.
So if you take I would say Gurley and Cook would be similar
I
going
believe
into the
Thielen
season.
right now is a top 8 receiver in the NFL.
I think he's number 2 in yards.
So I'm just saying, you take Thielen off that team, it's the same as taking Goff or Gurley off of the Rams.
Right. What I'm saying though is, if you take the starting quarterback off the Rams, you take the starting running back off the Rams, Gurley.
Yeah, and I agree they won't produce, but I'm saying the same argument you can make any of those arguments towards the other team.
Okay, but Minnesota did produce. That's what
Right.
I'm
They
saying.
produced in the times
You're
that
saying
they had
nobody else could do
injuries.
that. Minnesota did, and he's crediting that to Mike Zimmer.
They didn't lose Thielen.
They lost Diggs.
Diggs is their number one wide receiver. They're on their third
They
string
lost Dalvin
quarterback.
Cook.
They're on their second and third string run back.
And they've got Case Keenum leading the show.
System success. I'm just
that's
saying.
why I'm going with Zimmer as my coach of the year.
Okay.
You can't argue with it. Defensive player of the year,
Bosa.
Joey Bosa.
DeMarcus Lawrence.
That's a
Again,
good
you-
one.
yeah,
that's fine.
I love Bosa too, and I love everything
I
about his
almost
game.
wanted to put Ramsey in there, but he's not gonna. He deserves it, but he's not gonna win it based off of. You don't see those sexy interceptions or those sexy he has.
He
I
shuts
think
down
he has 14 pass defenses this year, where last year in the season he had 12. Or no, he has 12 this year, and last year he had 14 on the season. But the thing is he doesn't have those sexy interceptions and those touchdowns that everybody wants to see from a defensive player to give him defensive player of the year. But I think it's going to go unheard of on how efficient he is against quarterbacks and wide receivers.
Yeah, Ramsey is definitely a top-notch cover corner. You don't get anything off of him.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say, Chase and I didn't collaborate before this and pick all the same guys. This is just
I'm
So far, we
fine.
have
I
the same
don't
guys.
mind speaking my mind on these guys.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You almost convinced me on Coach D. You almost switched my mind. Let's do comeback player of the year.
Ooh,
Jared Goff.
Todd Gurley. We disagree, Chase.
That's
man. If I have to say one, just one. I mean, it's not really a comeback, but how about Thielen?
Let me give you this.
Man, I don't think that's
This year, right? Todd
here,
Gurley.
I want to put parameters on comeback player of
Right,
the
that's
year.
what I was thinking. I don't know how
How low their season was last year to
Okay.
how much it increased to the season this year. Look at how many
How about
more
Wentz?
yards they did.
I would take Wentz in this one.
I'm usually would be biased towards Wentz, but I would actually disagree with you on that.
Goff.
The reason why I say not Wentz is because Wentz
He
rookie
had a good
season
year.
it was decent.
Yeah, it was good.
He is actually fourth. No, he's fifth of all time passing yards for a rookie season, only behind Peyton Manning, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton. I can't think of the fourth one.
What team?
He's a more recent Andrew Luck. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, on rookie passing yards in their passing yards in their rookie
Yeah,
season.
he had a good season.
So I'm just saying I think that's why he can't be considered the most improved player, because Jared Goff last year on 7 games he played last year, he threw for 54%, 112 for 205 yards, 1,089 yards, a average completion of 5.3 yards, 5 TDs, and 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
This year, he's completed 172 of 281 for 61% for 2,385 in 2 more games than what he played last year, an average of 8.5 yards downfield for 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
So here's my
thing. Let me give you an argument for Todd Gurley.
Okay, no.
Last year, 0 games of 100 rushing yards. This year, 4. That's the difference. He played all 16 games last year, by the way. Last year, in 321 touches, that's receiving and rushing, he had 1,212 yards and 6 touchdowns. This year, in 207 touches, so over 100 less, he's at 1,160, so that's not even 100 difference through 9 games and 10 total touchdowns. To me, it's completely different. He's got a coach that's scheming towards him, which is why the pass is going so well. Right. Every pass they do is like a play action. It's fantastic.
And I think what you guys are talking about with both of these players is how good of an offensive coach that McVay is. Because, I mean, he's responsible for both of them having great seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I completely agree. I mean, Goff is over twice as much passing yards as he was last year at this point.
Yeah.
Last year, 7 games, 1,000, almost 1,100. This year, he's almost at 2,400. I was like, that's a 1,300 increase. It's actually 4 yards off of being a 1,300 passing yards.
The reason, I would put Gurley over Goff, though, is just because, everyone kind of, no one expected Goff to do much last year. It was his rookie season, growing pains. Meanwhile, most people had given up on Gurley. And now to have the season he's having, which is just night and day.
And I don't disagree with you. I think last year people's expectations of Todd Gurley were just extraordinarily high based off of his rookie year, because we saw his talent, we saw his peak in his rookie year, and then Jeff Fisher does what Jeff Fisher does and ruins players really quick.
I like both of those guys, Goff and Gurley. No, I mean, they're both fine players. So
I think they're both worthy of
a comeback player of the year. I could agree with both of them.
Yeah.
So let's do biggest bust of the year. Mine's Amari Cooper.
I mean, it's so hard to not say Amari Cooper, but it's Amari Cooper.
He's averaging 50 yards a game. As a wide receiver 1, he's averaging 50 yards a game. He's on pace to finish under 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. And he's only got 3 touchdowns. He's on pace to finish with 6.
And double-digit drops for the season.
Double-digit drops. He has the worst hands in football right now.
I think he's had 23 drops in the past 3 years, including this year. And the season's not even halfway over, or it's halfway over now.
Yeah.
Now, Tom the other day mentioned a player in our podcast chat that he almost had me sold on, but I still have to go with Amari Cooper because Anthony talked me back. Amari Cooper was my snap reaction. When I asked the question, I was like, "Here's my answer. Give me yours." And it was Amari Cooper. But Tom had mentioned Terrell Pryor, and I like that. But Anthony pointed out a good thing, is nobody expected Terrell Pryor to have the type of season that we expected Amari Cooper to have. And Amari Cooper, despite him actually getting 3 touchdowns on the year, does not make up for the 10 plus drops.
Yeah, absolutely. Terrell Pryor is a bust. I just feel like you have to look at expectation. Amari Cooper's expectations were way higher than Terrell Pryor's, and to just fall where he did.
And that's, I think, the point of this whole exercise is Amari Cooper was going 2nd and 3rd round, right, for most of people's draft, and Terrell Pryor's maybe 4 or 5 around that. So, I mean, the value wasn't there for either one of these guys, and they're both busts, but Cooper, because he was drafted so high, is the bigger bust.
Yeah, especially because if you drafted Amari Cooper, your team's probably really struggling. If you drafted Terrell Pryor, you probably found a replacement. You're probably doing all right. It didn't hurt you the way Amari Cooper did.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to Rookie of the Year.
Are we doing AL, NL specific, or are we just doing Rookie of the Year?
Just do Rookie of the Year. And it's not AL, NL, AFC.
NFC, AFC. Baseball.
You were just thinking of the baseball.
You were in baseball mind.
You were thinking of Aaron Judge and Corey Seager.
All right, so
Corey
Bellinger.
Corey Bellinger, that's it.
But
they're both on the same team.
I think for the NFC, it has to be Alvin Kamara, just because Dalvin Cook's out.
I love that answer because Alvin Kamara was actually my answer. There was one player I would say would be hands down win it if he did not get injured, and that was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I was going to say Watson, but I don't think.
But now I think it's between Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette, right?
No, I still think it's Alvin Kamara.
Oh no,
Kamara's NFC,
right?
I thought we were just doing.
Oh, you're right. You did say that. Yeah. Okay, well, in the AFC, because they do give out separate awards.
Yeah.
I think it's between Hunt and Fournette. Fournette seems to be trending down, but Kareem's trending down too. So
that one's.
I'm gonna go with Kareem Hunt just
that one's
because
a little bit difficult.
the Chiefs' schedule gets a lot easier down the stretch.
Man,
And if they're gonna win, he's got to do better. And he's not rushing great anymore. He is still the leading rusher, but he is still getting a lot of receiving yards and getting 100 yards from scrimmage. So
I'll say
take
this.
Kareem Hunt.
I'll say this: Deshaun Watson, even injured, wins the AFC Rookie of the Year.
You're ridiculous.
I mean, that's who I wanted to pick. That's who my guy was going to be.
I don't think it's that ridiculous. Like, look, last year in the NBA, Joel Embiid finished second on Rookie of the Year, but even being injured.
Yeah, but he played most of the season.
No, he only played half.
What are you saying, Tom?
I think Watson was going to be my pick, even though he's injured. But to toss that aside, it's got to be Fournette or Kareem Hunt. And if I'm going to have to choose,
Hunt.
It's going to be Hunt just because I think he's going to get...
He's more versatile.
Yeah, more versatile, more involved in the offense.
Absolutely.
Like, Fournette is one-dimensional in that offense.
Are we doing defensive rookie of the year?
For the NFC, mine's easy. Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, it has to be Marshawn
10
Lattimore.
pass defended already on his rookie season.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
interceptions.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what he does in the playoffs because he's going to just dictate where that team goes. The rookies on that defense are going to are their ceiling and they're also their floor. So
on the AFC side, I talked about this one is T.J. Watt. He's doing everything that Pittsburgh wants him to do: sacks, coverage, tackles.
4.5 sacks on the year right now.
Yeah, right in that, and I think 2 interceptions.
yeah, he's a big reason they're a top 5 defense this year.
Yep.
All right, so is that all of our awards?
Is that the awards?
Who do you have for your defensive rookie of the year?
I'll go with T.J. Watt.
Okay.
It gets a little dicey when you start talking
It gets
about
dicey in the AFC. In the NFC, it's pretty clear, I think.
Yeah, Marshawn Lattimore just produced. I mean, you could just in general. I mean, you gotta also give credit to like Jamal Adams and who's the other one that the Browns have?
There's another safety for the Jets, and I can't think of his name. That's actually up there too.
I thought Adams was the safety. For the Jets.
He was their number one, and then I think in the third round they did another one.
I thought there was I was thinking of the one for Cleveland. Who was there?
Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, Jabril Peppers or Myles Garrett. He was actually he was out 4 or 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Made an instant impact as soon as he stepped on the field.
Yeah, he's been putting pressure.
If he would have played the whole season, I think we'd be talking different for defensive rookie of the year. Because Myles Garrett is clearly the best talent out of that draft.
Yeah, he's been a fantastic find for them, and that's what they need on that defense. So before we get to our next thing, let me just mention 816podcasting.com, where we post our we did a waiver wire article this week. All of the podcasts, jump on there, get on there, check it out, leave a comment, and here's a question for you guys. Now, we got Thanksgiving right around the corner. What's your favorite thing about Thanksgiving dinner?
Afterwards, when you eat cheesecake.
Cheesecake on Thanksgiving?
And before, actually. My aunt gets pissed every year. She's like, don't touch the cheesecake. I swear to God, I'll beat your ass. And she gets the belt out and everything. Every year I have a little piece of cheesecake. And I'm like, sorry, bro. You taking 4 or 5 hours to cook. I'm hungry. There's cheesecake sitting right here. That's my favorite damn dessert in the world. Cheesecake.
I don't know. I like cookie dough, man.
All right, but we're talking Thanksgiving.
No.
Thanksgiving. Chase, favorite part about Thanksgiving dinner?
About Thanksgiving dinner or Thanksgiving?
Or Thanksgiving, like the meal. I was thinking the meal.
Okay, sorry. There's clarification because my answer probably would have changed. I was like, it's usually the nap after Thanksgiving dinner. You don't get a nap like that just any day of the year. I have to say probably my favorite thing would, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the stuffing, especially like the way my mom used to make it with the stuffing's just coming out of the turkey and all that stuff. Like the stuffing that's inside of the turkey when you're scooping it out is so soggy and like, oh, it's so good.
I have to say that my favorite part about Thanksgiving dinner is also the stuffing. To me, that makes the turkey better, the mashed potatoes better, the sweet potato casserole better, the green bean casserole, if you get that.
Oh,
it just makes it better to me.
You know, my mom used to make and I'm sure a lot of parents do, but like the way she made her gravy for the whole Thanksgiving was with the giblets from the turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Like she would soak that in there and all that, and then start making like it's all homemade gravy. Like when it comes to Thanksgiving, my biological mom, everything was homemade. Like her egg noodles that she would like, or her noodles, she didn't buy that stuff out of the freezer. She would sit there and have me be on the counter with her. We would pour a huge bag of flour out on the counter, and you just put your fist in the middle of it and make a bowl like sitting there on the counter. And then you just crack some eggs and you start like knocking a little bit of flour in at a time, and like you're goes from a pile of flour to like these noodles, and you're just rolling it out. I mean, it's like an hour and a half process. It's a pain in the ass, but like they taste so much better.
Yeah. Homemade is the way to go.
Yeah.
So now we want to get to Super Bowl predictions, but we want to set this up by actually going through our brackets. And we've all kind of agreed, and the ones we didn't agree, we voted on. So 2 out of 3 wins. Nice that we have an odd number.
Yep.
So let's just get straight into the AFC. Let's go straight through the seeding. Let's go with division leaders. We have Pittsburgh at number 1. We have New England winning the East, Kansas City winning the West, and Jacksonville winning the South. Those are our division leaders.
Seeded with Pittsburgh number 1, Pats number 2, KC number 3, Jacksonville number 4. Wild cards are
Tennessee and Buffalo.
Tennessee and
in
Buffalo.
that order. So that would put Buffalo visiting Kansas City and Tennessee going into Jacksonville.
I actually like this matchup for Kansas City.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't remember the last time Buffalo beat Kansas City.
Kansas City is the better version of Buffalo. Buffalo's a poor man. Kansas City.
So we all vote
The way
Kansas
Anthony
City
put it
here.
earlier.
Yeah. Kansas City, I think, moves on from this matchup.
All right, Jacksonville at Tennessee, or Tennessee at Jacksonville.
So this was harder just because Tennessee smoked Jacksonville earlier in the season, right?
Yep.
But I think we all clearly voted Jacksonville here to turn things around.
Yeah.
They have the better defense.
I think
And we also
Jacksonville.
get another preview of this game too later
Coming
on the
up.
season.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville has found more of an offense later on in the season than what they did with Tennessee early in the season.
Yeah, we're predicting them to beat Tennessee. Otherwise,
All right.
Tennessee might get that.
So
Jacksonville
we
moves on.
have Pittsburgh at Jacksonville, or Jacksonville at Pittsburgh in the second round of the playoffs. Anthony, who do we have?
Well, so I was the only one who voted Pittsburgh to win this game. I think Pittsburgh is the most complete team, and if we were doing individual instead of like as a team, Pittsburgh wins the Super Bowl for me. I think defense wins championships. They have a top 5 defense, and I think the skill players on offense, Le'Veon Bell, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, I think they would win the Super Bowl for me.
I think Jacksonville can do a repeat of what they did to Big Ben already. I don't think Big Ben. I think Big Ben.
Right, because they beat him like 30-9 earlier in the year.
I think this is one of those situations where the young kids have to prove they could beat just about anybody, and that's why I think Jacksonville wins this game and moves on.
I don't think it's just that because, I mean, Pittsburgh has a fairly young secondary. But I just think Jacksonville's secondary is elite and shoring up their run defense with Marcel Darius. People don't realize how great a move that was by Jacksonville. And if you don't realize, you need to watch what happened to Buffalo against the Saints. Marcel Darius kept them a top 5 run defense. They lost Marcel Darius, and they gave up, close to 300 yards to running backs?
They crapped
Yeah.
the bed.
Yeah.
All right, so we have
Their big boy pants.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jacksonville moving on 2 votes to 1.
Right.
The next game is Kansas City at New England, rematch of Week 1.
Now,
All
being an 816 podcast, right?
Here, let me set this up a little bit different. Being a Philly fan and not our quote-unquote KC fans and how people just assume I hate Kansas City, everybody would assume that since this was a 2-to-1 ratio that I picked Kansas City, or that I picked New England to win. Actually, I am not the one. I picked Kansas City to win this, and I just think that you can't count either one of these teams out. I think Kansas City is going to be the grittier team in this, and I think they're going to grind out a win. I think they're going to get their defense back on track, and I have them going to the Super Bowl.
And the way that I look at
No,
this,
I have them going to Jacksonville.
Right.
Sorry.
the way that I have this going is New England winning this game because they had the bye week to get ready, and I think that Kansas City's trickery offense has hit a stumbling block, and now it gives New England time to prepare for those mirror offense, what I call it.
So here's my thing, okay? First of all, if Kansas City won, Jacksonville would play at Kansas City.
Yeah, that's what I...
But anywho, Kansas City is trending down. New England's finally found who they are, number one. Number two, they don't have Eric Berry to guard Gronk this time. Number three, the last couple times they played New England, they have not been able to stop Tom Brady. And so when it comes to just being able to match points with him, because with the defense we have, we can't stop Tom Brady. We can't stop that offense. But when it comes, like, you can't expect Alex Smith to be the pocket quarterback and put up points with Tom Brady. They have to get the run game going if they're going to have any chance in this game with Kareem Hunt. But people are figuring him out. They're loading the box against him, and they're still running the ball. They need to set up the pass They need to pass first to set up the run instead of running to set up the pass because it's not working. But, yeah, maybe it's just the pessimist in me. Maybe I've been let down so many times. I picked New England to win this game.
I picked Kansas City, and
I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right, too. I don't think New England makes it to the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they're the same team in years past. And I think after the bye week for Kansas City is this week, so this coming up week, I think we're really going to see what Kansas City is made of for the rest of the season.
If we march into Foxborough, storm the castle, and chop the head off the king, I will cry tears of joy if that happens in the playoffs.
It's a crazy thing to think about, but that's why we play
I want you to do something crazier than cry, because I want to record.
Bro, I haven't cried since I was like 15.
Oh, I know. We don't need to get into this.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I can't cry, so that would be something, okay?
It's kind of fucked up that you would cry about that over something else.
Tears of joy.
Okay, fair enough.
There's nothing in this world I care more about than the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I got outvoted. New England advances instead of KC. We have New England versus Jacksonville.
And this is in New England.
Or AFC.
Because New England would be the higher seed here based on our rankings. By the way, we thought this was close. We didn't mention this, but I feel like we should. As far as like the wild card went, I think this is the first year in a long time a 9-7 team makes it in the playoffs. I think in the AFC you only got to get 9 wins to make it in the playoffs. There's a lot of bum teams right now that are 4-5 in the race, or 5-4 like Buffalo, like Oakland. But we looked at all the schedules, and that's why we picked the way we did. But I'm sorry, getting back to Jacksonville at New England.
To me, I've got New England beating Jacksonville just on the power of their offense and the ability that Belichick to scheme against defenses.
Yeah, I think I picked New England as well. It was a 2-1 vote again. I just think
No, I picked New England in this one.
Oh, you picked Jacksonville. I had, but that's fine. So, to me, I think they can take away their best weapon, which is Leonard Fournette, and try and force Bortles to beat them. And I don't think Bortles can. And I'm taking Tom Brady in that offense. Nobody slows that offense down.
This was the one that we actually all agreed. It was a different one on the NFC that we all that we had disagreed on.
All right, so we've got Chase. You got something to say about New England?
No, it's if you put them in a AFC Championship game, I'm not going to bet against them with a team with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
All right, so we all have New England moving on
into the Super Bowl.
All
right, let's get on to the NFC side.
So ranking-wise, Philadelphia wins the East. They're number 1 seed. Minnesota wins the North, number 2 seed. It was very close on who was the 2 seed, who was the 3 seed. But as the 3 seed, we have the Saints. As the 4 seed, we have the Rams. Very close rankings. We had to look at schedules and really figure that out. As far as wild card goes, we had Carolina, number 5, Seattle, number 6.
Yep.
Correct.
This has Seattle visiting the Saints and Carolina visiting the Rams.
All right, so let's go Carolina at the Rams. We all had a unanimous decision on this game. However, we do think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think, but we do have the Rams beating Carolina. I think the Rams are just a young, good, strong team at this point, and I don't think Cam Newton has what it takes to carry that team.
He doesn't even have the weapons to make an effort, really.
Yeah, I think the Rams.
You give the defense to the Rams, I believe, because they're both.
I think the defense is a push.
Yeah,
okay, the offense is clearly
they're both a push. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
They're both middle of the road, but the Rams backfield, you got to go to. You got to go to the Gurley because Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Stewart. You know, if Jonathan Stewart's on the field, it's a run play. If Christian McCaffrey's on there, it's probably a 60-40 split that it's going to be a pass play or a Cam Newton option.
And you got the Rams being the highest scoring offense in the league right now.
Yeah, 31 points per game, I believe.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's crazy.
I thought it was 33, but I could be wrong.
It might be.
Yeah. So Seattle visiting Saints.
Seattle visiting the Saints. So we all had a snap decision on this game on who was going to win. So we started okay, how big's the spread going to be? Like, how bad is Seattle going to get their butt whooped?
Yeah, we're predicting a beatdown here. Seattle is not the same team they have been in the past. Now they've lost Richard Sherman. I don't think you can run on this team, but this will be Drew Brees in a dome. I think Saints all the way. Saints have a better defense. I'll say it.
Yeah, Saints all the way. They're relying more on that run offense, and that's going to, with Seattle's injuries lately, it's going to hurt them. And I think the Saints' defensive line dominates Seattle.
It's got to be concerning how many big plays Seattle gives up, too. And, yeah, I think 100% Saints win this. So, 3-0.
Now moving on to the second round, you got Rams versus Philly. So we're going to get a preview of this game as well in a few weeks. It's in Philly, in the city of brotherly love, where Anthony and I, a year ago, I believe, today, or no, a year ago, a year ago.
We left on November 6th last year.
And the game was on November 10th.
Yeah.
So it was a few days ago, but like we came back a year ago today after watching Philadelphia destroy the Falcons.
So that was the start of it all.
The start of what?
Wentz's becoming.
Oh, no, he was on the Wentz wagon way before that game.
Yeah, I was...
Like,
I was
at first, because, like...
I was on the Wentz wagon before the draft. Like, I was like,
we did the tickets, we planned the trip, and then, like, money got really tight, and we thought about canceling, but we couldn't, because the Wentz wagon had already gotten full effect. I was like, there's no way. Like, we have to go.
Gotta go.
Chase would blow a casket, because this would have been the second year I would have canceled on him.
Yeah. I'd take the experience.
Well, the first year... the first year, you full out canceled, and I was ready to go. I had everything saved up, too.
It upset you, too, because I canceled because of a girl. You're like, bruh's before us. But let's say...
how'd that work out for you?
This is pretty clear. It worked out pretty good.
No, because you were supposed to go to Oregon, remember? And you didn't.
I went to Oregon last year.
Yeah, but the year that you canceled on me, you were supposed to go to Oregon, and you didn't go to Oregon until a year after.
Oh, that's right. But she came down here, and I, like...
That was like 6 months after that.
I took like a month off.
Yeah.
Just to yeah.
So, anyways, who do we got? Philly or Rams?
Easy Philly.
Philly
but
also.
It's going to be a really fun game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game.
I'm definitely taking off work for all the Philly games in the playoffs.
Okay, so then we have the Saints visiting Minnesota.
Now, this is a rematch of Week 1 of the regular season.
Right. But it's going to be a lot closer in that game.
I do think it's going to be a lot closer, and I really do think this game specifically could go either way.
Yeah.
I think Minnesota's defense is better. However, I think the Saints' defense is more talented, if that makes sense.
So Minnesota won this game September 11th. It was a Monday Night Football game by 10 points. But I think the Saints have become better than what they saw in that first week.
Also, the Saints were still the old Saints. They were trying to, Drew Brees. But now they've really discovered who they are with Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, and just leaning on that defense. And they're a completely different team. They're a team like New England who are not the same team that they were at the beginning of the year. And I have the Saints winning this game.
I've got Saints also, yeah.
But, yeah, it could go either way.
We all have the Saints winning.
So now we have Saints visiting Philadelphia.
Now, we all know who I picked. And obviously, I don't think it's being biased because I think Philly's just that talented that I think they can beat the Saints. I think I was outvoted on this one 2-1, but I think what's actually would help or is what's in Philly's favor more than anything is people want to talk about how bad their pass defense is, but they do realize that, yeah, I understand, quote unquote, Philly's masking their pass defense with a good pass rush. However, they got Sidney Jones, who's eligible to come back now. If you don't know who he is, you all should go watch Washington's tape. He, especially in 816 area, I was like, Sidney Jones was the better player between him and Marcus Peters on that team.
Yep.
Like, if you look at their stats, they were on the same team together, and Sidney Jones outperformed him every game. He was their number one corner. Marcus Peters was the number 2 on that team. So if you like Marcus Peters, you'll love Sidney Jones, guys. Secondly, Ron Darby's eligible to come back now after his dislocated ankle. He's back in practice. We may see him this coming up week or the next week. But the thing is I think the run defense, being a top 2 run defense for Philly, is what's going to stop the Saints in their tracks. And I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game, a very, very close game. But I think without being able to run with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a passing day. But I don't think it's going to... Obviously, they found their new identity, and I think Philly's their kryptonite on that identity.
Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, the way I see this one going is a little bit of the opposite. I think the Saints' defense has gotten a whole lot better as the season has gone on. And you're starting to see Sheldon Rankins. You're starting to see Marshawn Lattimore. You're starting to see those guys make plays in every single game. And I think that's going to hurt the Philly side of the offense, and I think the Saints score enough to beat Philly.
So let me play devil's advocate a little bit more. Then.
Yeah, go ahead, Philly fan.
So we're saying that it's going to be pretty much battle of the defenses in this game, right?
I wouldn't say that.
And keep in mind, Philly is tied in the league for 11 interceptions, which is second in the league. So their pass defense isn't as bad as people think. They have a lot of takeaways.
No, they've gotten better in the last few weeks also.
And I mean, again, that the reinforcements that are coming back on the secondary is only going to help it get better. The fact that they actually just waived Dexter McDougal, who was our fifth CB, who had been playing a lot for us, waived him. I think that kind of speaks to, okay, yeah, we're ready for Ron Darby now. Like, Ron Darby's coming back. We're comfortable with him starting. I think he actually starts this week. But I'm saying, so you have the battle of the defenses. So which offense is more elite at this point?
Well,
Philly
I think
or Saints?
To me, it's the Saints, but it's because they have the ability to run the ball and then mix in the pass. And if you have to lean on Drew Brees, you could lean on Drew Brees.
No, of course.
Let me talk. Okay, so for me, if it's battle of the defenses, I'm picking Philly. I'm not gonna if it comes down to who I have to pick, I'll go with the Fletcher Cox and Malcolm Jenkins of the world and all the rookies in January. Okay, but for me, this was a very close game. This was basically a push, so I just went with who I thought had the better skill players and the best overall team, and that for me is the Saints. I think with Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, I think they have the better players, and I think whereas Philly, they have Carson Wentz, who makes everyone better, but it's really if you put their group of players on any other team, could a quarterback do what Carson Wentz is doing with that team? Not at all. Not even close. I think Carson Wentz is the best player on the field, but I think New England's got the better players in general.
I'm just saying, this as a stat for Philadelphia, they are a top 5 rush offense this year. So they're not terrible rushing.
They're better with Jay Ajayi for sure.
And they were top 5 before Jay Ajayi.
That's a huge, but a lot of that was Carson Wentz too.
But Tom's counter argument was they could was the Saints being able to run the ball, and if they can't run, they can rely on Drew Brees. Carson Wentz has been passing. In fact, again, he's in the MVP conversation, and Vegas has him 1-to-1 odds to win the MVP this year. He started off at the beginning of the season 540-1. Now he's favored 1-to-1. That's a drastic change. But now I'm just saying, Drew Brees has regressed this year because they know they have to rely on that run game because Drew Brees can't sustain what he's been doing for 8 years in a row. Nobody can sustain that.
But now you have a guy in Drew Brees and a few of the teammates that have been in the playoffs before and know what to expect and know that they're going to be playing in a battle. And that's an experience that the Philadelphia Eagles don't have right now.
Actually, I disagree because Philadelphia Eagles have 4 or 5 Super Bowl champions on their team.
All right.
Malcolm Jenkins, Chris
right.
Long, and then they have 3 other players from the Baltimore's team.
So
when they won the Super Bowl,
does Carson Wentz have that experience?
No.
Does Jay Ajayi have that experience?
No.
Does Alshon Jeffrey have that experience?
I'm just saying it goes both ways. You want to listen off those players, I can list off the entire defense for the Saints.
Chase.
Where the entire defense for the Eagles has that type of experience.
Chase, I'm going to say one more thing. Drew Brees is not the same player he's been. He's clearly declining, but he's not bad. He's still a really good player, and they don't have to rely on him. That's why he's not putting up the numbers.
Right.
Number one. Number two, we're not going to convince you. We know you picked Philly.
No, I was just, the part of a debate is if you have a response, if you can, you go back and forth until somebody can't respond to it. My thing
That's not true.
So right. I'm taking the Saints.
I'm taking the Saints.
All right. I'm taking Philly.
So we have Saints in New England in the Super Bowl.
Saints win.
Saints win.
Man, I just have such a hard time going against Belichick in a Super Bowl with a Brady. But this is going to be a great matchup if it gets to this.
I'll be honest. I don't think New England even makes it past the second round of the playoffs.
I don't either, but that's where we have them. So.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That when it comes to the playoffs, New England just has that little extra gear that nobody else seems to have, and it's just that much harder to get them out of there.
Look at New England like the San Francisco Giants. Every other year, yes, I said San Francisco baseball. It's every other year they're in the World Series. Every even year it winds up being the San Francisco Giants in the World Series.
I would never in real life bet against Bill Belichick.
8 years that wasn't for San Francisco.
I'm not going to do that. I think it's ridiculous, but I think the Saints are just a more complete team. I actually have the Saints and Pittsburgh in my own rankings, and Pittsburgh winning the Super Bowl. But if I got to put the Saints up against New England, I'm going to go Saints. I think they're a more complete team.
Actually, I have Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
Dude, don't. You don't know the heartbreak, okay?
I would love to see this
either
matchup.
Kansas City or Pittsburgh for me for the AFC. And
it's just a matter of how it breaks in the games. You know what I mean?
And for me, it's either Philly or the Saints. And
it's going to come a lot to matchups because if Casey has to face Pittsburgh, I think it's a nightmare.
That's trouble. Yeah.
But if like what we have, where Jacksonville knocks out Pittsburgh or something like, if that were to happen, or New England knocks out Pittsburgh, which probably won't happen because they'll probably be 1 and 2 seed. But I'm just saying, like, if someone else can take out Pittsburgh, who knows for Kansas City?
See, to me, the New England Saints matchup, if we went player by player by player, I think that the Saints have just a slightly better defense than what New England has.
No,
right. And New England has, a better offense, though.
I think it's a way bigger difference than slightly better. I think the Saints are just so much more talented on defense than the New England is. I think New England's success is coming from schemes now, like their defensive coordinator changing. I don't think it has to and it's not a change of defensive coordinator.
I want to take
a change in his mentality for the talent they have on their team. Because if you're talking player by player, talent is a landslide for New Orleans. But if you're talking about defensive scheming, I think it goes to New England.
I want to say I agree with Tom though, just because New England's only getting better. Like they've only been getting better all year, and they've still got a lot of time left to get better. And you're going up against Bill Belichick scheming against you so I would put the Saints barely above New England.
The thing that I see in this game
by the time the Super Bowl comes around,
it's hard to You want to talk about the Saints barely getting better on defense?
We're not talking about talent. We're talking about just overall defense.
Overall defense, and you're talking about they're barely getting better. The thing is there's not much they can improve on. They're damn near perfect on defense.
They're good.
It's crazy.
Well, they played a perfect game last week, but I wouldn't say they're perfect on defense.
The thing about the
Saints, there's still a lot of rookies.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the fact the yards they're holding other teams to, the points they're holding other teams to, it's just crazy.
The thing about the Saints is they have really good players at all the levels of the defense. Their defensive line is amazing. Their linebackers are playing awesome. They got a couple big-time players in the secondary, where on the New England side, you got a bunch of no-names in the front seven that are making plays, and then you got 4 really good defensive backs playing for New England.
Look at some of the teams New England's faced, though. I want to look at some of those compared to what the Saints have been facing. The Saints face Carolina, and I understand Carolina, okay, they're and you can go either way on them, but still, they have good talent, good O-line.
If you're going strength of schedule, I'd probably go Pats.
All right, here you go. You ready? I'll read them off to you. Kansas City, everybody knows about. They beat New Orleans already once in New Orleans. Houston.
I want to look at the teams that that the Pats had been succeeding on defense against. I want to just focus on those, not the teams that.
Okay, so
that's
will 2 weeks. Will we say under
3
20
weeks,
points?
4 weeks? No, it's 4 weeks under 20 points. That's right.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's under 20 points a good number? Yeah. Okay, so the
7,
first
8,
week
9, 10.
Against New Orleans, they gave up 20 points.
New Orleans.
Tampa Bay, they gave up 14 points. The Jets, they gave up 17 points. Atlanta, they gave up 7. Chargers, they gave up 13. Denver, they gave up 16 points.
Okay, wow. So all those teams are all garbage teams. You can argue about Atlanta, but Atlanta has been terrible all year.
Well, we got Carolina in the playoffs.
Okay, so you have Carolina.
We've already said New Orleans is playing in the Super Bowl, so that's 2 in our playoffs.
But Carolina, you said New Orleans had 24, right?
20.
All right, so that's right at the cusp. But I'm just saying, then you got the other ones, Jets and Tampa Bay. Those teams are garbage. Yeah, those are stat patterns right there.
Absolutely. So,
but every team has those. Okay, every team plays against people.
I want to look at the Saints.
You can't choose your schedule. You just play what you have.
Right.
Let me ask you guys a question while Tom looks this up. So I already know, if it's just my rankings, I have the Saints against the Steelers, and I have the Steelers winning the Super Bowl. Do you guys know who you have if it was just you picking?
It would probably be Philly or the Saints for NFC for me, or Pittsburgh or KC for the AFC.
I like Philly, Saints, NFC. I like I like Patriots and probably Pittsburgh or Kansas City, depending on.
So who do you have winning the Super Bowl by yourself?
Philly.
Man, that's going to be the matchup that's tough for me. I want to say the Saints, but I could see Philly winning it just as easy.
Okay.
So here's the Saints teams that they've beaten. Carolina gave up 13. Miami gave up 0. Detroit gave up 38. Green Bay gave up 17. Chicago gave up 12. Tampa Bay gave up 10. Buffalo gave up 10.
So Detroit, they gave up 38. Most of those were defensive touchdowns, right?
Yes.
There
was
so that wasn't
there was 3. 3 for Detroit. Or no, was it? There was a total.
There was
of 5
2 for Detroit and 3
total.
for New Orleans.
Okay.
So that's 14 points off the board for the defense right there, right? So
14 knocks them down to 24.
Yeah. So that's the most they've given up all year. Is 24.
So
I'm defense specifically.
Yeah. So that right there, I'm saying the Saints. Again, the most they've given up was 24.
Yeah.
We'll say 24. Yeah.
Well, they played. Didn't the Patriots put up more than that?
On the Saints?
Yeah.
I just moved off it.
It was week 2. I'm pretty sure they put up like a 40 burger or something.
36.
Yeah, so
36.
Okay, that's the most they've given up all year.
Yeah, all year is 36. 38 would be the Detroit game, but 2 of those were defense. So now we're going to New England that gave up 36.
So you minus 2 games, and they've held every team to.
Right, but it's.
I'm just saying.
Well,
consistency.
Minnesota scored 29, and they lost. New Orleans lost the first game.
You're so biased and it's so clear, Chase. Like
No.
you try and add or take away games for the
but you
Saints,
gotta
trying to
remember,
add games
though-
for New England. It's like, come on, bro.
You got to
I
remember
was
that.
trying to take away games for New England too.
Yeah, the stat patterns, but you don't want to take away the cans for the Saints. You want to take away the games that they gave up a bunch of points. Like you're clearly being 100% biased and not looking objectively.
I mean, that's what fans do.
Yeah.
We're all fans of our team, and that's what we try and do.
Well, the Saints aren't even my team.
But you're
I'm
a
just
big
saying
Drew
their
Brees
defense-
fan. I know you for a long time. We're both big Drew Brees fans. We're both like the Saints.
So the last 4 weeks for New Orleans, we've got Buffalo gave up 10. Buffalo is a playoff team, barely. Tampa Bay, they gave up 10 points. Tampa Bay is not a playoff team.
Absolutely not.
Chicago Bears, they gave up 12. Chicago is not a playoff team.
One of the worst offenses in football.
Green Bay, they gave up 17.
Green Bay's a fringe.
And that was not with Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
No, that was not Aaron Rodgers.
That was his first week out.
Then they had Detroit, they gave up 38.
Was that his first week out, or was
Yeah.
it the week he got hurt?
No.
I could
they
pull it
played, I swear it was the first week out.
No, I'm
They played the Saints.
Hundley was
Yeah.
the only one playing there, so that was his
Okay.
first week. And then after that, we get Detroit. They gave up 38. Detroit's not a playoff team.
And 14 of the, we just elaborated, 14 of those were defensive touchdowns for Detroit.
Miami, they played Miami and blanked them. Miami is not a playoff team.
Detroit's
Carolina.
a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, they're right on the border, I would
Detroit's
say.
fringe.
Carolina scored 13 points against them. Carolina is in our playoffs,
They just find a way to win while being terrible. It's weird.
right?
Yeah, 7-2 or 7-3 right now for Carolina.
Yeah.
So-
New England scored 36 and beat them, and New England's playoff team, and Minnesota scored 29 and beat them, and they're in our playoffs.
All right. Is that all you guys have for this week?
I don't know. We could argue about something if you want.
Chase always wants to argue.
Not always.
I mean, it's football. This is what
I
we
just-
do.
I just like a little bit of controversy. I don't want everything to be so bland and everybody agree with everybody. It's howdy doody or whatever. Come on, let's have some.
Controversy sells for sure.
So real quick,
Exactly.
I'll do New England's games real quick, just so we get a back and forth. New England's last game was against Denver. They gave up 16. Week before that was the Chargers. They gave up 13. And then Atlanta, they gave up 7. Then the Jets, they gave up 17. And then Tampa Bay gave up 14. They lost to Carolina, gave up 33. They beat Houston, but Houston put up 33. They beat New Orleans. New Orleans put up 20. And then Kansas City put up 42 on them the opening week.
The only elite offense in there that I heard was Houston, because that's when they had Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, Carolina.
KC is still
Carolina's
ranked
not
high.
elite, but they're a playoff.
They're
offense.
playoff, yeah.
Yeah, KC's still ranked high, but
If this matchup comes true, it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. in the Super Bowl if it happens.
I mean, it could happen. I don't think it's that far fetched, but
I'm picking the Saints to win, but in real life, I'm never going to bet against Bill Belichick.
okay, I'll take a bet.
All right.
you take Brady.
I want to see Drew Brees get one more before he goes out.
Drew Brees or Tom Brady getting another ring this year.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It won't be that.
It'll be Big Ben.
It'll be Carson Wentz.
All right.
It's definitely not going to be Brett Hundley. I can tell you that much.
You don't need to tell us that. Like Ray Charles could see that shit.
He's improving, which is a good thing, and they're starting to take
one game against Chicago. Yeah, I understand Chicago should have stopped him to nothing, but I mean, come on, that's one game.
They just need to.
They need to fire that coach, fire their GM,
McCarthy should be gone.
Fire the president of personnel.
Well, let's not talk about Green Bay.
I think McCarthy's going to be gone after this, just because
he should be.
I don't think he can mold an offense to the players that he has.
Okay, when you play a high school team or high school offense and you have Aaron Rodgers, you're dumb.
Yeah, let him throw the ball.
I don't think he goes anywhere, but I think he should be gone. I don't think they fire him.
They got a tough schedule coming up too. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Eases up, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Carolina, Minnesota, Detroit.
So the podcast that was lost, was that the one that we had the hot seat on who we thought was going to get fired this year, like their last year in the...
Yeah.
All right, so name one coach in the NFL right now that you think is their last year coaching for that team?
Ben McAdoo for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
I think we can all agree on McAdoo.
McAdoo's probably number one.
Name another one.
Marvin Lewis.
I think that's a great one.
I hope so. He has so much talent and can't do anything with it.
However, I will say, what I told Tom previously was with Marvin Lewis, I think Cincinnati's going to kind of do a blackball type thing, not blackball him from going to other teams. I think they're going to give him an ultimatum. Hey, retire. If you don't retire, we're firing you. We're going to give you the option to leave as our head coach and all that. That way, hey, we're honoring you, but we want you gone. I think
he's not that old. He's not going to retire.
He's been with them 9 years.
A long time,
yeah, but he probably still thinks he can get a job somewhere else.
I'm sure he could, but
he's not going to retire.
I'm just saying, if I was Cincinnati, the way I would approach it is I would give him the option to retire if he wanted to, or if not, we're going to fire you.
All right, Chase, give us one.
Ooh, I could name off 6 right now.
Yeah, I already got my next one lined
up. Can you see that one?
Yeah. Oh, actually, that was probably my favorite one. That wasn't named, but Dirk Cutter.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's probably number 3.
I think he has the most talented team that did nothing. Nothing was accomplished with this year. I think Tampa Bay is more talented than Cincinnati, and Jameis Winston should have been performing way better. Mike Evans should have been performing way better. Doug Martin should have been performing way better.
Yeah. They did have a lot of injuries on defense, but they haven't done anything offensively either.
That offense should have been putting up points left and right, and
especially against the Saints. Before the Saints figured out their identity, that should not
So, my next one's Chuck Pagano. He needs to go.
He should have been gone 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem there is the offensive line, and they haven't really addressed that too much in any of these drafts or free agency.
Okay, they can't address it in free agency because they gave Andrew Luck a ridiculous contract. And don't get me wrong, Andrew Luck is worth it, kind of. But if he wasn't injured, okay, he's totally worth it. But the thing is now there's reports out that Andrew Luck may never play an NFL snap again.
I think he'll play next year.
He was in
number
Europe,
one, and I think they get rid of Brissett for a lot of good draft picks. They have a lot of new talent next year, and they have a new head coach, and I think they make.
I think you should. I don't know. Did you hear what Tom was saying? Because I've already read this article. And
Andrew Luck was in Europe trying to get a second opinion and healing something from a doctor in Europe,
which was not approved by the team.
Yeah,
the medical treatment he's seeking right now is not approved by the team, and they were saying the damage that was done to his throwing shoulder and all that. Because what they had to do is they had to remold new cartilage around his shoulder and all that, and they're saying because of that cartilage, was never taught to be thrown. It was never made to be thrown. It's fresh cartilage around it now. That he may never throw again at the level he was, or may never play NFL again.
So, and I still blame the front office for never addressing that offensive line.
Yeah,
because if you can't protect your best asset, which is your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, that goes back to the front office.
I don't think you extend somebody until you can protect them. And as a QB, as his agent just saw dollar signs. I think what they should have realized is, hey, I'm not signing an extension with you until you can protect me. Because, yeah, Andrew Luck's the nicest guy you can ever sack. Hey, man, good job. Slap the guy on the shoulder like, hey, man, that was a good play. Thank you.
You can't be upset. Like, he was injured and he got that contract. He got this contract this year. That guy just
No, he got
him.
it 2 years ago.
No, he got it this year. He got a new extension.
So Andrew Luck signed 6-year contract, $140 million, June 30th, 2016.
Okay, so a year ago.
Yeah.
So you said this year. I said 2 years ago, so we're both wrong.
$47 million fully guaranteed and averaged $23.3 million per season.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I do know that he already had the shoulder problems when he signed that.
Coming off a down 2015 season plagued by injuries. He was playing poorly even before the shoulder injury forced him to miss 2 early season starts.
So,
and the lacerated kidney ended his season after week 9.
But no, I think that whole front. I agree with you. That whole front office and Chuck Pagano both should be gone.
Well, I don't know about the front office. They just got a new GM, and everyone
Ballard
seems to really like him. He seems to want to clean house. So as far as players, as far as coaching, so I'm interested to see where that goes.
Which is why they cut Vontae Davis. Which interesting. Do you think a team signs Vontae Davis?
Hey, real quick before we get to that, Ballard was an assistant in the 816 in Kansas City.
Yeah. And
when dude got fired, he moved on to Indy.
I love Ballard. I think he's going to do good things in Indianapolis, and I think he cleared his house, coaching players.
Yep.
So,
I'm wishing him the best of luck. But,
okay, back on to Vontae Davis. Sorry.
Vontae Davis. So a team can sign Vontae Davis right now in hopes to have him during the playoffs. Do you think a team should? And if so, do you think it's worth it for that team?
It depends on, you'd have to be a playoff team. And I don't know.
Clearly, the only teams that are going to look at signing him would be a playoff team.
It'd have to be like a 1-year contract.
I believe they have to assume.
Him.
Don't they have to assume the contract, or
only
is he just free?
He cleared waivers.
Okay.
It was only if he did not clear waivers. He can sign a new contract. The money, since he cleared waivers and all that, the money that's owed to him, I think is $8 million. Still has to come off the books from
what playoff team could really use him?
Philly, right off the bat. Carolina,
even Seattle now with all the injuries they got.
Seattle. I think New England could use him.
I wonder which of those teams have the money for it. Well, this sounds like something New England would do because New England's just unfair.
I think Tennessee could use him. I think
they get all the great players.
So I think Carolina, Seattle, Tennessee, Philly.
I mean, just about any of the teams that are making a playoff run could use the bolstering.
I think Kansas City could use him.
Yeah, Kansas City could definitely.
I think that'd be a great spot for him because
I think Kansas City needs to play more zone and they need to rush their goddamn passer. When you play man-to-man, you give up those chances for the big plays. And when you're 3rd and 10, 4th and 10, and you're sending 3 guys every time because quarterbacks get the ball out faster. No, on 3rd and 10 and 4th and 10, when you can get them off the field and they have to wait for the plays to develop, you need to be sending our damn pass rush because we got a really talented pass rush.
Which is
and to be dropping Justin Houston back into coverage 60% of the time blows me away.
Which is why I like Jim Schwartz because, and I'm getting back to Philly, I'm sorry. But it's because he blitzes a lot. He doesn't blitz a lot. He has a pass rush all the time on there because he believes, his motto is, or his mantra, whatever you want to call it, is he believes he should have his defensive line should be able to get to the quarterback without a blitz. He's like, if my players can't get to the quarterback without a blitz, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, they keep a rotational front line all the time. Every 2 plays, every 3 plays, they're coming in and out.
I will say this isn't a head coach.
They rotate 4 defensive ends and 3 defensive tackles.
This isn't a head coach, but fire Bob Sutton.
Oh yeah, I agree. Glenn said that I think a few weeks ago.
This is such a talented roster. If you look at just the talent on Kansas City's defense, there's no way they should be where they're at.
You got Marcus Peters as a true shutdown corner, right?
Yeah.
And you got the pass rush.
I disagree with true shutdown.
Well, I mean, he's the best that they have on the
Absolutely.
team. And then you have that pass rush. So most of the time, it's not going to go to his side. So now you're looking at the secondary.
Well, we're doing a lot better with Steven Nelson back.
Here's what pisses me off about Bob Sutton's defensive play calling. It's 3rd and 14, right? No, it's 3rd and 8. It's 3rd and 8 against Dallas. They line up 10 yards downfield and prevent.
Yeah.
If it's 3rd and 8, Why are you 10 yards downfield?
I was getting to that part of it.
Like,
but yeah, it's
that pisses me off. Like, you would think if it's 3rd and 8, I'm going to line up 6 yards downfield because you shouldn't bet that, I can run 10 yards quicker than you can do a slant route to get that extra 8 yards.
My buddy,
that's retarded.
Yep.
Like,
my buddy Cortez Johnson back home in Connecticut, he was a D-back for Fairfield University and Ansonia High School where we all grew up, and he was one of the better ones. And when we played together, our philosophy was, if it's 3rd and anything long, we're going to press and hope the defensive line guys can get to the quarterback or make them make a bad throw, and they're not going to complete this pass because we're in press coverage.
Yeah. And they did the same thing in 3rd and 4. It's 3rd and 4, they're 10 yards downfield.
Yeah, that's not.
If it's 3rd and 4, don't be 10 yards downfield because that's a first down right there. If it's 3rd and 4, you need to be on that line, have your hand, because you have 5 yards, you can disrupt that wide receiver, that wideout's route. And any disruption on that route, if you can, if he's supposed to cut in for a slant and you can force him to go to the outside, most QBs are going to make a mistake. They're not going to make that play right there. If you can force them to the outside numbers and you have the safety over top, that play doesn't happen. You're not going to make it into the turkey hole.
By the way, this is way off topic, but since we are talking about Dallas, there's one thing I want to say there. I think you should pick up Cole Beasley on waivers. I think
it's Terrence Williams.
Well, see, here's my thing, right? So with Tyron Smith, their left tackle Tyron Smith going out, they clearly had problems. Adrian Claiborne recorded 6 sacks. He's not
almost
Derek Thomas.
Almost got to Derek Thomas record.
Right, but so here's the thing: the way you beat a bad O-line, because they haven't had a bad O-line in a few years. They don't even know what to do, right? Clearly. They just had Dak standing there. But the way you beat it is with, 1, a mobile quarterback, and 2, short to intermediate passes, and that's going to be Cole Beasley, Jason Witten, not going to be the outside guys like Terrence Williams and Des Bryant. So I think Cole Beasley's a big pickup.
Beasley is that wide receiver there that either goes for 2 touchdowns on 5 catches
or gets nothing.
Yeah. So I want to get your all's views on something real quick. So I think, because you really didn't comment on this, I think that for the loser of the listener league, we should have a shirt made that says I didn't listen to the podcast, or I should have listened to the podcast, and have A16 podcasting, or
it should say I suck at fantasy football on the front, and at the back say I should have listened from Sacko to Shiva
with a unicorn on it.
Yeah. Unicorn on the front.
Yeah, anything that just screams fairy.
And then I had an interesting thing. In Anthony and I's personal league that we run, we have a belt that we got this year for a championship. Now, I have a thing that I thought Anthony might really like to do, and I haven't brought it up to him quite in full length. So we had mentioned whether it was going to be a traveling belt or a belt that is a keeper. I thought, what if we make it a traveling belt that whoever wins it gets to hold on to it, obviously, until the next champion wins. But at the draft of the next year, so let's say you win it this year, right? At the draft next year, you're presented with a Super Bowl ring that you get to keep. And the belt travels, and on the belt we have one of the plaques taken off and engraved, Anthony 2017 champion.
I like the idea that, because you brought this up, and it's probably the most fair, you can decide to keep the belt, but then you have to replace it. So
I like that too.
Okay too.
Yeah. But I thought it would be a cool way, instead of, so that way next year, because there's a website, you can buy a Super Bowl ring that, costs almost nothing. It's still I think it's $30 and all that.
They're not that expensive anymore.
So we could essentially okay, hey, it's still going to be
bro,
X amount of dollar entry fee, and then
let me just say this.
Okay.
We're young guys. We're going to play fantasy football the rest of our lives. I don't want 50 rings laying around, okay?
I don't think you have to worry about that, Anthony.
Yeah, shut up.
Man, you wouldn't even have one.
Come at me, bro.
I'm right here.
And I'll tell you what we do. So in my league with Chad Smith, we have a cup. And it's probably, 2 or 3 feet. And on the bottom of the cup, there's a base. And on the base, it has everybody's name who's won it. And it travels around to whoever wins. Well, in the last couple of years, you get your name up on it, but you don't have any other way of recognizing that you won. So I won it 2 years ago, and my girlfriend got me a plaque that says Fantasy Football Champion in the year that I won it. So my idea is from now on to go get that plaque for everybody else who wins it.
Yeah.
So that way there you have something from the year you won.
But then you have 50 plaques. I think it would be cool to have the 5 rings like Brady. So when you go to the draft and all that, the next year you just plunk your hand down on the table and and they're like, what's that? And you're like, oh, just winning. And you just lift up your hand.
No, I want the 11 like Bill Russell.
Man.
All right, fair enough.
I think that's all we have for this episode.
Yeah, I think it was a fun episode, guys.
Anthony, you want to wrap it up again?
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us here at 816 Podcasting, presenting from Sacko to Shiva with Chase, Tom, and sometimes Anthony. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, 816podcasting.com, at 816podcasting. Make sure to rate and review on Stitcher. It gets us on the best shows list and gets a lot of new viewers. We just need 5 each week, guys. Make sure to check out Marquette Wrestling with Anthony and Glenn.
And a great thing for us, if y'all could just share it too. Like, if one of your friends out of your 500 friends sees it and they share it, I'm just saying, let it spread like a disease, guys.
Absolutely. We appreciate your support so much, guys. Thank you.
I thank you all, guys, for the love that we get, the comments, the likes, shares, ads, and don't be afraid to get a hold of us if you got any questions. We're here to help.
Yeah, real quick. This was a new format for us. We're trying something new. We're still figuring this out. If you guys have any suggestions what you want to hear, maybe you want to hear us go back to the other way, maybe you have a new segment you think we should do, let us know. We're completely open to any and all ideas.
Yeah. Thanks again, guys.